Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, Talks here. So in today's video, we're going to be doing a quick speed test between the Google Pixel 7a on the right and the Google Pixel 6a. So quickly taking a look at the specs, on the Pixel 7a we do have the new Google Tensor G2 chipset with 8GB of RAM compared to the Google Tensor chipset for the first generation Google Tensor chipset and also 6GB of RAM. So obviously the Pixel 7a does have the better specs, but usually these speed tests, when you do compare them, they don't have too much of a difference, and in day-to-day usage you probably can't tell too much either. However, we just do these just to see the comparison between the two devices. So without further ado, let's go ahead and begin. Starting off with the boot up test in 3, 2, 1. Alright, both these devices are booting up, and while these are booting up, I'd like to talk about what we're going to be doing. So first off, we do have the boot up test. Then we're going to be doing the fingerprints test, and as you saw, they did boot up at the same time, maybe just a tad bit faster on either one of them. I didn't even notice because they were both super fast. And after the fingerprint test, we will go ahead and open up some apps to go ahead and test them out to see which one opens it up faster. And we do also have a RAM management test where we will go ahead and reopen every single app that we already did open just to see which one kept it in the RAM better or managed the RAM better, since one does have more RAM compared to the other. And they are also both connected to the same Wi-Fi. So let's go ahead and begin with the fingerprint test. We do have face unlock on the Pixel 7a as well, but since the 6a does not have it, we will not be including that. And as you saw, seems like the 6A and 7A don't really have too big of a difference. The 6A was actually a little bit faster on the first test, but other than that, they are very similar. So let's go ahead and begin now. As you can see, I do have a couple of apps lined up. We have the calculator, calendar, clock, camera, some stock apps, some social media apps, and then we also do get some Amazon, we get some shopping apps, which includes YouTube, Starbucks, and then we also do get some games, and we also do get Geekbench 6 for the final CPU benchmark test, which will conclude our test. So let's go ahead and begin. Starting off with our stock apps, we're going to go ahead and begin with our calculator in 3, 2, 1. Seems like the Pixel 7a. Moving on to the calendar in 3, 2, 1. Again, seems like the Pixel 7a just by a tad bit. Clock. Again, very smooth on both. Camera, and it does seem like the Pixel 7a did open up the camera first. Instagram, seems like the Pixel 7a, or was that the 6a? So go ahead and leave a comment down below for that. Twitter, again, that's going to be the Pixel 7a loading up the newest tweets first. Groupon, let's go ahead and restart that. So Groupon. Alright, seems like the Pixel 7a. ESPN. Again, that does seem like the Pixel 7a. Moving on to Amazon. Whoops, gotta restart that. Messed up a little, so Amazon in 3, 2, 1. Alright, it seems like they were both very similar, but I'll go ahead and give that to the Pixel 6a. Moving on to eBay. That's going to be the 7a. YouTube now. That's going to be the... Those were both very similar, so I can't really tell. Starbucks. Again, seems like the Pixel 7a right there. And now we are moving on to our games. So let's go ahead and turn down our volume if it is on. And now let's go ahead and begin. So starting off with Smashy Road Wanted. So these two games, the first two games are pretty, they aren't really CPU or GPU intensive compared to the final two. So starting off with Smashy Road Wanted. Let's go ahead and see which one loads up first. And that is going to be the Pixel 7a. So Pixel 7a does take that. Temple Run 2. Again, let's see which one's going to be first. So some lag on the Pixel 6a, but it does seem like the Pixel 7a does take it. So the Pixel 7a is taking the games right now, but the test is still not done. So let's go ahead and click play on both, and now exit and move on to Asphalt 9. All right. So again, I am noticing some stuttering on the Pixel 6a compared to the 7a. The 7a did open up Asphalt 9 first. And now let's move on to our final game, which is going to be Dead Trigger 2. So Dead Trigger 2 in 3, 2, 1. Oops, so we did get a notification thing right there, so I'll go ahead and restart that real quick. Sometimes unexpected things do happen, so Dead Trigger 2 again. And seems like the Pixel 7a takes that. And now when we click play to enter into the game, let's see which one opens up first. And that does seem like the Pixel 7a takes it. So the Pixel 7a overall is performing a little better than the Pixel 6a. Again, you can't really notice it. The difference isn't too huge. As I said in the beginning, these tests don't really mean too much, but again, we do them just to show you guys the slight difference that a 1-year generation does to a phone. And again, it's not too big. However, there are many other factors to a phone other than just the spec sheets. And we have the camera, we have the battery life, so there's tons of things that we have to keep in mind. But again, this is only one part of it. So now, I can say that the Pixel 7a does take that test, not by too much, but now let's move on to the RAM management test. So let's go ahead and start. So starting off with Dead Trigger 2, again, both saved them. Asphalt 9, alright, so both of them saved it. That's just an advertisement inside of there. Temple Run 2, again, both of them are still there. Smashy Road Wanted, both are still there. Starbucks, alright, YouTube, eBay. So let's see if the 2 gigs of RAM does anything. And Amazon did reload on the Pixel 6a. ESPN, still open. Pixel 6a is reloading. Groupon, again, the Pixel 6a did have a reload. If we do move on to Twitter, another reload on the 6a. Instagram, the Pixel 6a did reload, and the phone is getting a little hot, so that it is dimming its brightness right now, which I can't tell right now. Again, the Pixel 7a, the camera, you can't really do much as it does have to reopen the camera, but these apps are in place. So the Pixel 7a does take this test. The Pixel 6a did lose out on a lot of the apps, and that just shows you how much 2 gigabytes of RAM can actually do for these phones. So without doing anything, I'm going to go ahead and try to bring up the brightness. Brightness is dimming as the phone is getting hot. I'll go ahead and close out all these apps right here. So clear all of the apps on both the devices. Now that we are free of our RAM, we can move on to Geekbench 6, go ahead and do our CPU benchmark and see what the results are. So they did go through some load, not too much, very simple, just a couple of apps. However, the Pixel 6a did heat up a little bit and it did have to dim the screen up. So let's go ahead and see what we get with the results. So starting with the CPU benchmark in 3, 2, 1. So I'll go ahead and let this finish up, but before we do that, I'd like to talk about something. I did actually run tests on both of these devices yesterday, and I did get some pretty interesting scores. The Pixel 6a did actually beat out the Pixel 7a, but let's go ahead and see what we get for the scores today. So I'll go ahead and cut the video right here and get back to y'all once we are done with the test. Finally, the test is over on both the devices, and as you can see, we do have higher scores on the Pixel 7a, which should have been obvious. So quickly talking about the devices, the Pixel 6a has gotten really hot, and I can actually feel it. Plus, the display has dimmed down, as you can see right here, compared to the Pixel 7a. And if we do go ahead and take a look at the scores, we can see that the single score on the Pixel 7a is 1300, and the single score on the 6a is almost 1000, and the multi-core for the 7a is 2500 and 2300 for the 6a respectively. So overall, not too big of a difference between the two devices. The phone did just get a little hotter, and compared to what I got yesterday, so I actually did do a test at the same time for both these phones, and let's see if we can see that. Alright, doesn't seem like I can see the history on this device, but again, I did get a lower score on the Pixel 7a compared to the 6a, and I did actually go ahead and post that on my Twitter. So that will basically wrap it up for this test. As always, if you did enjoy this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and see y'all in the next one.